Dude, I found my old Webkins. Webkins, remember when that was a thing? What is up, guys? It's McManChiefan here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing something a little different. I've been seeing a lot of people doing like halfway wrap-ups for like what was the best books that you've read so far this year. So I decided, let's do that. Because my list has actually changed a lot since I last said, ooh, this is my favorite book. Ooh, no, this is my favorite book. But yeah, I can't wait to tell you guys what mine are, so why wait? So let's get into it. Hope you guys enjoy. Alright, number 10. Now, let me just say, number 10 is the only one that I didn't give a 5 stars to, but it was the closest, like, ever to getting a 5 stars, and that's just incredible. And that is Infinite Jest by David Foster Wallace. This book is the longest book I've ever read in my life, but my god was it worth it. It was so worth it. It's just so beautifully written, like, it's just a whole thing about, like, Enfield and the drugs and the movie, and just entertainment corrupting society. It was just so well done, and David Foster Wallace is just such a great writer in this. It just blew my mind. It truly stands as one of the more modern classics of just modern literature. It's just great. It's a modern classic of modern literature. What does that mean? But anyway, number 10, I don't want to waste that much time on these books because it'd just be me rambling and praising it out of the wazoo. So, my only problem with Infinite Jest was that there was like this little stretch of like 50 pages where it just kind of seemed like an essay about entertainment, and that wasn't the point. It was about to describe the effects on it by a story instead of describing the effects by facts. So that was just my only problem with Infinite Jest, but other than that, fantastic book. If you have the time and ready for your friendships to be ruined, then go check out Infinite Jest, because it's a massive book, but my god is it worth it. Alright, number 9 is I'm kinda cheating on here a bit, because technically this is the only series on the list, and I'm only gonna show the first book. I'm only counting the first book as of right now, because I haven't finished the series. If I finish it by the end of this year, which will be probably be likely, then I will include the entire series as one big thing, but right now I'm only counting the first book, and that is Elena Ferrante's My Brilliant Friend, the first novel in the Neapolitan novel series. I adored this. This is absolutely fantastic. Sure, the cover's hideous, and I know that's rather factual by now that this cover's awful, but the way that Ferrante describes friendship and, like, poverty is just so glorious that I don't think that, besides the number 1 on this list, I don't think that hardship has been told better. Well, I can describe a couple books that can describe hardship better, but this is up there. This is seriously like top 5 in hardships. It's so well done. It's so beautiful, and really, the friendship between our two main characters. I know Elena's supposed to be the main character, but really, I count Lila as kind of a main character as well, because she just gets just as much focus. So, just their friendship has been beautifully captured. They're also just the fact that they're just a whole ton of other characters have been told beautifully as well. Elena Ferrante is just such a great writer, and it truly shows that she can, I hope it's a she, but it just shows that she just proves herself as just one of the great modern writers. For me, this is my modern masterpiece. For me, it's the modern masterpiece, and if you haven't checked out the Neapolitan novels, go do yourself a favor and check them out. They're absolutely amazing. Alright, number 8. So number 8 is Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man. Now, Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man kind of got me confused with its prologue, kind of like just like its introduction, but once I got through the first chapter of this book, oh my god. This has easily one of the best opening chapters of all time. Like, if you don't think the beginning chapter of Invisible Man is dark, brutal, yet brilliant, then there's something wrong. This book, I will not dare spoil even the beginning of it, not even the premise of it, because it will ruin probably the best part of the book. I mean, the book is great the whole way through, but oh my god, that first chapter! Oh my goodness! That was such a great chapter. Just read it for that chapter alone, but the rest of the book is really fascinating as well. About a nameless main character trying to go through, kind of like racial differences, because our main character is African-American, he's black, and it's just, oh my god. It's so good. It is so good. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison. Check it out if you can. It's absolutely phenomenal. Alright, number 7 is The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls. Jeanette Walls' Glass Castle is now my new favorite memoir of all time. And it's probably the only memoir that I've given a 5 out of 5 to. It is wonderful. It's about Jeanette Walls and her family just throughout her childhood, and how her childhood was just kind of rough. It's the story of Jeanette's childhood, and it's really just like Lenny Ferrante's My Brilliant Friend. It's beautifully written. It's gorgeously written, actually. Just the way that she describes the relationships between her siblings and her parents, and even some of the small characters that come across in her life. Like, there was one, I'm sorry for the minor spoiler, but there's a part in this book where she meets the salesman, and she describes it as her second most hated person she's ever met. And just the way that she goes describing that salesman is just so amazing, so great, that I just can't handle it. It's just, how is this book so well written? And normally nonfiction doesn't keep my interest for that long, but this kept me gripped, and it made me fall in love with memoirs and give nonfiction another chance. And now I'm loving memoirs, and hopefully I can love history books as well. But just, if you haven't checked out, like normally, if you haven't checked out The Glass Castle, go check it out. It's beautiful. It's just like Elena Ferrante's. Unlike Infinite Jest and Invisible Man, and more like My Brilliant Friend, this is beautiful. Just read it. But warning, it's kind of a tearjerker at the end, just telling you that. Alright, number 6 I actually don't have with me, because I'm actually lent it to my mom. Yeah, she wanted to read it, so I'm like, hey, go ahead, it's one of my favorites now. And that is Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. Note, my first 5-star rating of this year. Fahrenheit 451, we studied it at my school, and I was blown away by the opening alone. Much like Invisible Man, Fahrenheit 451 probably has one of my favorite openings ever. And it just goes beyond just the line, "It was a pleasure to burn." Like, that whole first 2 pages are just gorgeous. Oh my goodness, just like the way that Bradbury describes everything. He's just such a great writer that he knows how to describe things. And it's just amazing. It truly is amazing. Montag's one of the most complex main characters I've come across in a long while. And this whole society that Bradbury built in order to get this message across is just wonderful, yet brutal. You don't ever want to live in it, but it's just, you can appreciate the writing that he took to make this universe. And my goodness, it's just brilliant. If you haven't checked out Ray Bradbury 451, go check it out. But enough about that. Fahrenheit 451, it's symbolic, it's great, there's so many layers to it. Just read Fahrenheit 451, it's amazing. Just trust me, it is absolutely amazing. Number 5 is probably the most hated book on this list. Like, I loved this book, obviously. It's number 5, it's the 5th best book I've read so far this year, but most people hate it. I don't know why. There's just as many negative reviews as good reviews on Goodreads, and I honestly don't get it, because I love this book. I love this book so much. And that is The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. This is about a story. This is a story about a woman named Hester who has a letter A printed on her chest after she does something god awful. I won't spoil what it is. And then she has a baby named Pearl. And then it's pretty much their story about how she goes on with her life, and things happen, and it's wonderful. Oh my goodness, it's wonderful. If you haven't checked it out, enough about. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say if you want to check it out, go check it out. But because it's obvious, these are the best books I've read so far this year. So, The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne, beautiful writing, like some of the best writing I've ever seen. Just great characters, great complex characters. That is, they're not just cardboard cutouts of other characters from more literature. And it's just wonderful. It's just wonderful. If you haven't checked out The Scarlet Letter, go at least give it a try, because it really is just a wonderful, wonderful book. Alright, number 4 is another book that, even though loads of people gave great ratings to this book, on BookTube, people are like, oh, why do people like this book? It's not that good. It's a children's book. I don't care. I love this book to death. And that is Watership Down by Richard Adams. Oh my goodness. Just... Hazel, lead us to Watership Down! Just, if you don't know about this, it's about a group of rabbits led by a rabbit named Fiver's brother, but Hazel, and it's just them trying to escape reality, just trying them to escape a corrupted Oslo, which is kind of like a group, in order to be free from like corruption and the human condition and stuff like that. I know that's the worst description of Watership Down ever, but it's about rabbits trying to escape. They're trying to find a free home, and it's wonderful. It's like, how can rabbits be described so well? How can rabbits be such great characters? It just puzzles my mind on how great of a writer Richard Adams is. This book just blew me out of the water through just webham straight to the moon. I got that line so wrong. I have nothing else to say. I bet I'm not even into top 3 yet, and I'm already speechless through the books, but just check out Watership Down. It's amazing. Just fantastic story, wonderful characters that you really get gripped to, and the writing is just gorgeous. He has his own type of language that he uses, and it's great. And yeah, just check out Watership Down. If you're a fan of the animated movie from 1978, I like that movie, but there's so much more in the book, especially for a book that's about like 450 pages long. Just check out Watership Down. It's absolutely amazing. Alright. These are the top 3 books that I've read so far this year, and honestly, I don't know what to say about these books, because actually I do know about 2 of them, but one of them is just like a confusing mess, yet I loved it, but that's not the one I'm going to talk about first. Number 3 is Flowers for Algernon by Daniel Keyes. Just the way... This is about a mentally retarded man named Charlie Gordon who gets who goes through a surgery to make him smart, and he does, and things happen. It's so, if this type of experiment would have happened, this is the exact way that it would have occurred. Not the exact way, not step by step like this book, but it'd be something like this. And Daniel Keyes writes Charlie in the best way that he could possibly be written. He truly shows that wits and being smart isn't everything. And it really shows, what can happen when somebody gets too greedy and somebody gets too smart and too arrogant. And it's just... the way that he writes this, oh my goodness! There's so many messages in this book, there's so many morals in this book. This is amazing on how well written this book is. And let me give you an example. While he's a little more, I hate to use this word, but while he's a little more stupid, he finds out what a comma is, and he just puts commas after in one chapter is devoted to him putting commas after every other word, and it's just so sweet yet so heartbreaking. And this is the book that made me come close to crying. It's so beautiful, so gorgeous. Just read Flowers for Algernon for the feels alone. Don't be scared. Let it take you in with its feels. I love Flowers for Algernon. That's pretty much all I have to say for that book. Alright, number 2 is the book that I originally thought was going to be number 1 on this list. However, after thinking about it, despite what my Goodreads review says, really, it's not the best book I've read so far this year. Not because this book is bad, but it's because number 1 is just better. It hooked me in more. But number 2 is Gravity's Rainbow by Thomas Pynchon. Now, the reason why I didn't say this book was number 1 is because I love it, yet it's confusing as crap. What even was this book? Actually, I do know what this book was, but just, it can be so complex at times that you don't even know what's going on. It's not like a Ulysses where you have no idea what's going on and you know this guy is being pretentious. Thomas Pynchon, you can really tell this guy was telling a story. And a great one that is, with one of the largest character casts I've ever seen. But just, it's not compared, it's just comparing this to number 1, once you see what number 1 for me is, you can definitely see, oh yeah, that's why he put this at number 2. But enough about degrading this book. This book is still a masterpiece of epic proportions. This is about, get ready for the weirdest premise of all time, alright? This is about a man named Slothrop who, whenever he has sex, a bomb drops on that location. What? But just, it's great. It's great. If I can not describe this book any other way besides its premise, but it's wacky, it's insane. This book should be put in an insane asylum, but it's marvelous. Just marvelous. Just read Gravity's Rainbow, but get ready to be having your brains blown out and put back together again, because that's how this book works. And then we've come to number 1. For the longest time, this was at number 2 for my list this year, but then after thinking about it, thinking about all the things that this book was trying to say, and thinking about how much passion was put into this book, I had to make this number 1. So, number 1, my favorite book this year so far, by far now, is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. Just, what do I say about this book that hasn't been said before? This book just has touched the hearts of millions, and it added me into that millions because it's now one of my favorite books of all time. If I were to redo my top 10, both this and Gravity's Rainbow would be on here, but this would be even higher than Gravity's Rainbow. I cannot describe how well written, how amazing, how complex, deep, and beautiful this book is. I swear, I love this book more and more as my life goes on. I swear, I'm now attempting to reread it yet again, even though I've only read it a couple months ago. I've only read this since March. And yet, I've fallen in love with this book. I don't know what else to say about To Kill a Mockingbird. You all know the story. You all know the characters like Scout, Jem Atticus, Tom Robinson, Mr. Ewell. Just so many great characters, so many great themes are explored in this book. It is truly, in my opinion, one of the great American novels. It's up there with Great Gatsby, Catcher in the Rye, and Moby Dick, in my opinion. This book blew me away. I love this book. Now I definitely see why it's some people's favorite book of all time. And while I still prefer just tiniest amount of books more than To Kill a Mockingbird, this is still a masterpiece. If you're like one of the 10 people on this earth of 7 billion, just read it immediately. It is one of the best books ever written. If you haven't checked out To Kill a Mockingbird, there's that line again. Just read it. It's a masterpiece. It's a flat masterpiece. So, that's the video, guys. And I hope you guys enjoy. Tell me what your guys' favorite book so far is. It down in the comments below. And as always, I'm gonna end this right now. I'm Mega Man Chief Fan, and I'll see you later, guys.